Let's get started with our first news. Khabib Nurmagomedov's private conversation has been leaked, and it's all about Islam Makhachev's next big move. Islam's longtime teammate and podcast host Josh Thompson let something slip that's now raising eyebrows across the MMA world. During a recent episode, Josh revealed private messages from none other than Khabib, where the Eagle admitted he had real concerns over Islam moving up to welterweight to face JDM. While a lot of fans believe this is a winnable fight for Islam, Team Khabib isn't entirely convinced that it will be as smooth as people think. It makes sense when you look back. Khabib himself, despite dominating at lightweight and even discussing a move to 170 alongside his late father, never actually made the jump. Of course, his retirement came after the tragic passing of his father, but there's another layer to it. Back when Kamaru Usman ruled the welterweight division, Team Khabib wasn't exactly in a rush to chase that smoke. Facing a dominant wrestler like Usman was a different challenge. Now things have shifted. The throne at welterweight no longer belongs to a grappler. It's held by a slick striker, and that changes everything. For years, the 170 division was locked down by wrestlers, but now with striking at the top, Islam's camp sees a more favorable opening. Still, caution remains the theme. At 34 years old, Islam knows his window is limited. He doesn't want to take a bad loss and then call it quits. Instead, he wants to leave the sport on his terms. Right now, he's got only one loss on his record, and adding another isn't something he or his team want to risk lightly. If he gets past JDM, the sky's the limit, but as Khabib said, this is going to be the toughest fight of his career. Josh even shared that he was texting Khabib recently, and Khabib doubled down on those concerns. He pointed out that JDM is explosive, dangerous on the feet, and while his takedown defense isn't the best, his ability to get back up is phenomenal. On top of that, JDM is a big body. He's physically strong, and that poses a real threat. Khabib admitted that while he's seen Islam handle larger training partners with ease, this fight is still different because it's under the bright lights against a dangerous contender. According to Josh, Khabib reassured him by saying he's watched Islam go with guys who are bigger, even 205-pounders, and manhandle them when he's not depleted. The confidence in Islam's wrestling is still there, but the caution comes from knowing how good JDM is at resetting, getting back to his feet, and keeping the fight standing where he's most dangerous. That's why Team Khabib isn't taking this lightly. So while the fans may be expecting another dominant performance, Khabib has made it clear that this is not just another fight. It's a huge test, perhaps the biggest test in Islam's career, and his camp is approaching it with a lot more caution than people might realize. Before moving to the next news, we have one quick request for you. We're constantly working on improving our content to earn your love and support. That's why we'd truly appreciate it if you could take just a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Move on to another news. Colby Covington has once again made headlines, this time by taking aim at Khamzat following his dominant UFC title-winning performance over Du Plessis. Covington, never one to hold back his words, acknowledged Khamzat's undeniable skill set inside the octagon but quickly shifted the narrative to controversy outside of it. He blasted Khamzat for his alleged involvement in a crypto scam, going as far as to call him a piece of dirt, despite the fact that he now holds UFC gold. Covington's remarks added fuel to an already heated debate around Khamzat, whose success in the cage continues to be overshadowed by questions about his actions outside of it. The controversy at the center of this storm comes from Khamzat's alleged promotion of a meme coin that left many fans financially devastated. Reports claim that after insiders dumped their holdings, the coin's value plummeted, leaving everyday investors with huge losses. For someone in Khamzat's position, this has sparked criticism that he misused his influence to promote something that ultimately hurt his fan base. It's a sharp contrast to his image as one of the most dominant fighters in the sport today, and it's the reason voices like Covington's are growing louder. However, the story isn't so clear-cut. Khamzat's manager has publicly defended him, saying that the fighter himself was misled and had no direct role in the financial collapse that followed. According to his camp, Khamzat was simply a victim of bad information, not the mastermind behind the scheme. This adds an element of complexity to the narrative. Is Khamzat guilty of being careless with his brand, or was he simply caught up in something larger that he didn't fully understand? That's the question many fans are debating as the fallout continues. Meanwhile, inside the octagon, Khamzat is riding high. Just last month, he defeated Du Plessis to capture the middleweight championship, adding another milestone to his rapidly growing career. Despite all the noise surrounding him, his dominance in the cage cannot be denied. He has yet to book his first title defense, but the conversation is already heating up about who could be next in line. The UFC's upcoming event in Paris will likely provide clarity. Nassourdine Imavov and Borrello are set to clash, and the winner of that fight is expected to be positioned as a top contender for Khamzat's belt. As fans gear up for Paris, the stakes couldn't be higher. Khamzat is not only dealing with pressure from inside the cage, but also the weight of controversy outside of it. If he continues to win, he has the potential to silence critics and cement himself as one of the most dangerous champions in recent memory. But if the controversies linger, they could cast a long shadow over everything he achieves. Covington's comments reflect more than just personal animosity. They highlight a growing tension within the MMA community. Khamzat's undeniable talent is in direct conflict with the scandals that threaten to tarnish his reputation. This dynamic will play a huge role in shaping how fans, fighters, and the UFC itself view his reign moving forward. For Khamzat, every step he takes now matters, both inside and outside of the cage. Move on to another news. Tom Aspinall is gearing up for his first UFC title defense against Cyril Gane, but behind the scenes there's a growing conversation about whether he should eventually make the switch to boxing for a massive payday. This discussion isn't just from fans or pundits, it's coming directly from his father, Andy Aspinall, who recently spoke about the possibility on their YouTube channel. Andy explained that while Tom's focus is currently on defending his UFC title and headlining big events in the UK, the financial reality of MMA compared to boxing is something that simply cannot be ignored. Andy laid it out clearly. He said Tom will likely defend his belt soon, hopefully fight again in January, and maybe headline a huge card in England. But beyond that, the question becomes whether it makes sense for Tom to chase the kind of money that boxing can offer. Andy admitted that if his son isn't too bothered about staying strictly in MMA, he would love to see him cash in with a highly paid boxing match. The money is there, and in Andy's words, there's no reason why someone as talented as Tom shouldn't take a slice of it, especially when boxers are making 100 times more than UFC champions. This is the harsh reality. The UFC simply doesn't pay fighters anywhere close to what elite boxers earn. While UFC champions are celebrated as some of the best athletes in the world, their purses pale in comparison to soccer stars, NFL players, and especially boxers at the top level. Andy pointed out that Tom is one of the best in the world at what he does, yet financially he earns only a fraction of what athletes in other major sports bring in, and that's despite the fact that fighting in the UFC is one of the most dangerous professions on the planet. Andy was very clear about his priorities. His main concern is Tom's long-term health. He said that while his son has already made decent money, the most important thing is to make sure Tom gets out of the fight game without taking unnecessary damage. The goal isn't just about championships or paychecks, it's about making sure Tom retires healthy with the ability to enjoy the rest of his life. Andy even said he wouldn't be bothered if Tom walked away tomorrow. To him, what matters most is being able to spend time together, find other things to do as father and son, and for Tom to be there for his 3 kids. He stressed that the fight game is dangerous, and once Tom has enough to be comfortable, he should seriously consider stepping away. Of course, Tom still feels like he has more to prove, and Andy supports that drive, but the end game is clear. It's not about fighting forever. It's about making the most of his prime, getting the financial rewards he deserves, and then walking away before the sport takes too much from him. For Andy, the vision of making it is simple. It's not tied to a specific title defense, a historic win, or a milestone fight. It's when Tom retires healthy, able to spend time with his family, and ready to start the next chapter of his life. Move on to another news. Kyle Sonnen has sparked a conversation about a matchup that not many fans have been openly discussing, but one that could be absolutely huge for the sport. He brought up the idea of a potential super fight between Islam and Shavkat Rakhmonov. If Islam gets past JDM, Sonnen believes this fight could turn into one of the most significant clashes in UFC history. The stakes would be massive, the storylines undeniable, and the fan interest off the charts. When you think about the skill sets, it becomes even more compelling. Islam brings relentless grappling control, unmatched pressure, and a pace that very few fighters in the world can maintain. On the other side, you have Shavkat, an undefeated welterweight with precision striking, composure under fire, and a pressure-heavy style that overwhelms opponents. It would be one of those fights where fans and analysts would question every single position. Who can land more clean shots? Who can win the battle of kicks? Who can shoot first and actually hold the other one down? Who can sustain energy in the later rounds? There is no clear answer, and that's exactly what makes it so fascinating. Beyond the stylistic intrigue, the regional fan bases make this fight even bigger. Islam is already a national hero in Dagestan and across the Caucasus. His popularity stretches into Russia and beyond. Shavkat, meanwhile, carries the pride of Kazakhstan, with his country fully behind him like a tidal wave. Add to that the support both fighters have across Central Asia, and you're looking at one of the largest all-Eurasian showdowns the UFC has ever seen. Millions of fans from across the region would tune in, making it not just a fight but a cultural event. The narrative adds yet another layer. Imagine Islam moving up in weight, beating someone like JDM, and then challenging an undefeated monster like Shavkat. That's not just a career move, that's legacy-defining. For Islam, it would mean conquering 2 divisions and proving his dominance against one of the scariest young welterweights on the planet. For Shavkat, it would mean solidifying himself as the man who took down the lightweight king turned welterweight contender. Either way, the storylines practically write themselves. Sonnen emphasized that this isn't just a dream fight, it's a perfect storm. You have skill sets that match up in unpredictable ways, storylines that connect to massive fan bases, and the kind of uncertainty that fuels excitement. Unlike many fights where fans can make safe predictions, this one would keep everyone guessing. Every clinch, every exchange, every scramble would come with questions. Who wins this position? Who adjusts better? Who breaks first? That kind of unpredictability is what makes MMA at its best. Kale also pointed out that this type of fight creates a real dilemma for the UFC. If Islam and Shavkat face off, there's a 50% chance you take one of your biggest stars out of the picture. Both men are rising, both are adored, and both are valuable to the promotion. Matching them up means you're risking the aura of one for the benefit of the other. But that's the fight business, and sometimes those are the risks that create legends. In Son's view, Islam vs Shavkat is one of the most compelling fights the UFC could possibly book, not just for the outcome, not just because of the records, and not just because of the titles at stake. It's compelling because it's one of the few fights that has everything: skills, storylines, massive fan support, and the kind of unpredictability that makes fans count the days until fight night. Move on to another news. Rampage Jackson is facing heavy backlash after his recent comments on social media about the violent incident involving his son Raja. On Monday night, Rampage released a lengthy statement that alternated between harsh criticism of his son and a firm defense of him. He addressed the situation involving Smith, who was hospitalized after the altercation, and said the incident falls into the category of play stupid games, win stupid prizes. According to Rampage, the lesson Raja delivered was simple: keep your hands to yourself. In his post, Rampage claims Smith had previously hit Raja over the head with a beer can, just one day after Raja had suffered a concussion during sparring. Rampage said that under those circumstances he wouldn't have cared if a group of pro wrestlers had jumped in. As he put it, "I'm a father first." He went on to call Smith a drunk, adding that the incident involving Psycho Stu wasn't the first time Smith had been part of such behavior. Rampage argued that Raja should have contacted the police after the initial incident with Smith, which in his view could have led to a lawsuit against the pro wrestler. Throughout his post, Rampage directed some of his frustration at what he described as low IQ people who are falling for clickbait narratives about his son. He said he's tired of staying quiet while his family is dragged into the spotlight. The irony, however, is that Rampage has been far from silent since the incident. He has gone live multiple times on Kick, addressing the controversy and defending Raja in real time. Despite Rampage's explanation, his statement triggered a wave of criticism online. Many fans felt that his defense of Raja crossed the line. One fan broke it down point by point, saying 1. It wasn't even a real beer can. 2. Even if it was, if Raja had retaliated immediately, it would have been a non-issue. 3. He shook hands and then plotted to attack him, and it's all on 4K video and audio. If someone hadn't stopped him, it could have turned into first-degree murder. Just because someone stopped him doesn't mean it wasn't attempted murder, and it doesn't make him any less sadistic. That fan ended by saying Raja is extremely lucky this took place in Los Angeles, where he avoided harsher consequences. Another fan wrote, "As always, playing the victim doesn't work. Saying someone told him to do it isn't a defense for attempting to cause serious harm or death. Why is accountability considered racist?" Yet another commenter chimed in, saying, "The apple does not fall far from the tree. How are Rampage and Raja trying to turn themselves into the victims of this ordeal?" The sentiment was echoed by others who pointed out that Rampage continues to shift the blame away from his son and onto others like Stu. One particularly harsh comment summed up the frustration: "You were right about some things, but the second you tried to paint Stu as someone who was in the wrong, you lost all credibility." Notice how Rampage immediately tries to blame Stu. Lol. The reaction shows just how divisive Rampage's defense of his son has become. Instead of putting out the fire, his words have only added more fuel to the controversy. Move on to another news. The MMA community is buzzing after seeing Diego Lopes' insane body transformation ahead of his upcoming fight with Gene Silva on the Noche UFC card this month. Lopes, who has fought at the highest levels before, is looking absolutely shredded, and fans wasted no time reacting online. One fan wrote, "USADA gone. Fighters more ripped than ever." Another joked, "He looks like a villain straight out of a GTA game, but I'm a fan of Diego Lopes. Still, I can't count Gene Silva out. I just hope the better man wins. Good luck to both fighters." Some fans quickly jumped in to defend Lopes, pointing out his resume. "I don't know why people are writing off Diego. He's got far more experience against high-level fighters and championship-caliber competition." Another added, "His shape is insane. That physique is crazy, especially those legs." Others predicted an easy night for Lopes, with one comment saying, "The nerds are about to take another loss." Not everyone was impressed though. Some questioned whether being this lean so early in camp is actually a good sign. One fan sarcastically posted, "Fighter in good shape during training camp. Oh wow, never would have guessed." Another wrote, "If this dude beats Gene Silva, I'll forever be a fan." Of course, Silva's supporters were quick to fire back. "All that just to get slept," one fan said confidently, reminding everyone that Silva still brings serious danger on fight night. With both fighters locked in and looking sharp, the stakes couldn't be higher. Fight night is rapidly approaching, and no matter what side fans are on, everyone agrees this showdown is going to be explosive.